is Sophie Tullier and Katie Dean Williams, and we interviewed for the Faith Interview Project 2 students at United Dairy Farmers on High Street. And today we're going to talk to you about some of the things that we found and our reactions from those videos. The first question is kind of, where are these students in terms of Parks and Fowler's theories? We decided to use Parks mostly, so in her theory we think that they're probably in stage 1, which is authority bound. It's more dualistic and sort of comparable to Harry's dualistic theory stage as well. We think they're there mostly because both students talked about success making them happy and kind of like, I will make it happen, very taking their answers kind of from someone else.
Make a lot of money, be happy, that type of thing.
Saving the world one tooth at a time.
One tooth at a time is how I can make the world a better place and make my mark on the world. And so they're very focused on themselves and how they can make a difference just in their own lives and very personal.
So Parks defines faith as the activity of seeking and discovering meaning in the most comprehensive dimensions of our experience. And our students, just through the experiences that they've had, it seems like they really think that they would leave their mark on the world no matter what they did, even if this belief is unfounded. So kind of going back to that whole dualistic phase that Katie Dean talked about.
So Parks also described sort of 2 different focuses on her theory. The first one that set her apart from Fowler was that there's a connection between structure and content of faith, as well as the role of affect and imagination. And we would argue that both of our student interviews had lots of imagination, that their responses weren't necessarily founded in anything, that they just kind of had gut responses to these answers, and it kind of seemed like they hadn't really thought out the issue at all. The second thing that makes her theory different is that she has a focus on young adulthood, which is really crucial when we're looking at college students of any type. Fowler kind of just skips over this whole section of your life and how many things can change and are challenged in that period. And so we think that Parks is really unique in that she has the young
noted that
adult.
this stage, that of taking responsibility for themselves and including their faith, this stage rarely occurs until at least age 17, and many people never reach it at all. And so from the answers that our students gave, we kind of feel like the first one, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to get there, but for the second student who wants to make his mark on the world one tooth at a time, he really just needs a conscious conflict to get there, and just a little bit of cognitive dissonance seems like it'll make him think more broadly and incorporate more understanding and different perspectives into his current thoughts. Got some good data from these students, and we really enjoyed interviewing them and their answers and all of that. We aren't sure how serious they took the interviews, especially given that we were at a convenience store. And so they use a lot of humor to deflect the questions in their answers of them. So we're just not sure how accurate our analysis is because of that. It's hard to feel like you got an accurate answer when, while you're asking someone and trying to measure their faith development and spirituality, their friend is asking them about the slushies and the slushy machine and
Or chips just bad luck.
Slushy is just liquid.
So the last part that I want to address is, like Sophie hinted on, student 2 we think is a little bit further developed than student number 1. And you'll be able to see those videos in just a second. But student 2 is based on how he thought out the question and the answer to how you will leave your mark on the world. Parks talks specifically about 3 different forms of development that she studied: cognition, dependence, and community. One tooth at a time. I'm going to get there. It's very focused on, kind of some experiences he's had in his workplace and within his classes. That's something else that Parks addresses in her theory. And it is implied that he is much more concerned with his community and not with his own personal, like how he's going to make an impact in his own life, but on those around him every day. In conclusion, we just want to kind of mention that while we did look at both Fowler and Parks, we do believe Parks is the more relevant for the two students that we interviewed. Fowler not only talks more heavily about spirituality and faith in God, but also doesn't address young adults at all, which we mentioned. And that's why we think Parks is more applicable. And then it's also hard to place either of our students definitively in one area in Fowler's theory, because so much of what they experienced was kind of jumped over. We think Parks addresses that much more clearly. So that's our conclusion.